All right, so let's do an example. So if I have something like 3x squared y plus 6xy squared minus 12 x, okay? The first step is always identify our greatest common factor. So I'm looking at 3, 6, and 12. I can do my math number 9. I know that's going to be 3. You with me so far? Do all three terms have an x? What's the lowest exponent? Cool. Do all three terms have a y? So my GCF is just 3x. Now it says skip a space and write the greatest common factor slightly to the left of the original expression. So if I have my original expression, 3x squared y plus 6xy squared minus 12x, I'm going to skip a space. Did I miss something? Okay. So if I skip a space and I'm going to go to the left and I'm going to put my 3x. Step 3 says open a parentheses. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then after we open the parentheses, all we're going to do is take this GCF and divide each term by it. So I'm going to go under here and put the GCF. I'm going to go under here and put the GCF. I'm going to go under here and put the GCF. A quick note to the wise. If you did the GCF properly, you should never get a negative exponent when you divide. It's all either going to cancel out or give you positive exponents. So what's 3 divided by 3? 1. What's x squared divided by x? Just regular x, because 2 minus 1 gives us x. And y is by itself, so it just comes down. What's 6 divided by 3? 2. Now I have x over x. What happens in that case? It cancels to become a 1. Now, if there was nothing left, I would write the 1. But since the 2 is there, 1 times 2 is going to simply just be 2. Then I have y squared. What's going to happen with that? It's just going to move on down. Then last but not least, negative 12 divided by 3 is going to give me minus 4. And again, what happens to x over x is going to cancel to become a 1. We're finished. That is it. Once you know how to find a GCF, factoring it out is very straightforward. You put it to the side of parentheses, you divide by it. That's it. Let's do another example, right?
How about you divide?
Huh?
Oh, whatever.
Well, yeah, we just did divide it. Let's do another example. Start with a simple one. Let's do 3x squared. Let's do minus, I'm going to say 12x plus 18. What's the GCF between 3, 12, and 18? This is at the bottom of the page I'm doing. What's the GCF between 3, 12, and 18? 3. Skip a space, move to the left, and I write 3. Do all three terms have an x? Okay, so I'm not including it. So now I'm going to take this GCF and divide everything by 3. What's 3x squared divided by 3? Well, the 3 3's cancel to give us 1, and x squared by itself just comes down. Does it make sense? Negative 12x divided by 3 is going to give me negative 4x. 18 divided by 3 is going to give me, we finished. Questions? Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's go up just a little bit level. So let's do 3x to the 4th plus, I'm going to do 10x to the 7th minus y to the, let's say 3rd. Okay. I got 3, 10, and when I have a minus sign, what number is here? Negative 1. So if I have 3, 10, and negative 1, right? What number, what's the GCF of those three? Just 1, right? So I could skip a space and just put the 1. Now, do I have any other letters in common?
Oh.
So I'm finished. When 1 is your GCF, you actually don't even need to do anything. You can just really bring down the same thing. There's nothing that happens. Let's do the first page of the practice. First, I look at 10 and 18. What's the GCF of 10 and 18? Skip a space to the left, I'll put 2. Then I have x to the third and x to the fourth. Same letter, right? What should I use? X to the? Good. Then I'm going to divide by 2x to the third. Ten divided by 2 is going to give me 5. And what happens to x to the third over x to the third? Cancels to become a 1. Negative 18 divided by 2 is going to give me negative 9. And x to the fourth over x to the third, x, because 4 minus 3 gives us just x to the 1. We're finished. Questions? Raise your hand if it's clear. Okay. Let's try one a little more difficult. So let's scroll down. Let's get to I guess we can go to 12. Let's look at 12. So I got 6, 6, 5, and then this is positive 1, right? What's the GCF between 6, 6, 5, and 1? It's just going to be 1. Then I got a to the fourth, a to the third, a squared, and a. Do they all have an a? Yeah. That's correct. That's correct. In terms of the coefficient, that part will be 1 if there's a 1 as a coefficient, right? They all have an a. What's the lowest exponent available? Oh, it's just this 1, right? So it's just a. You'll notice in the answer sheet, when you have 1a, they're not going to need the 1, and they'll just leave it as a. Does that make sense? So then now, I'm going to open my parentheses and I divide by a. I'm going to get 6a to the 4 minus 1 gives me third. Fix that 3. Then I'm going to get another 6, and then again, 3 minus 1 going to give me a squared plus 5, and then 2 minus 1 is going to give me a. And last but not least, a over a cancels to become a what? 1. Is there anything else down here? So I must put the plus 1. Let's do one last one, and then you just practice. Thank you. Last one, let's look at 16 is good. I got negative 14, 35, and 63. All right, we'll pause there. Come back for this. Okay, so I got negative 14, 35, and 63. Okay. Often when the leading coefficient is negative, they want you to use a negative GCF. So in this case, I skip a space, open my parentheses, and what number should I write here? Negative 7. Do all 3 terms have an n? What's the lowest one? Do all 3 terms have a p? So we divide them by negative 7n. Negative 14 over negative 7 is going to be 2. What happens to n over n? Cancels to become a 1. Then this is going to be p to the 4. 35 over negative 7 is going to be negative 5. N to the third over n is going to be, and then the p just comes down by itself. It cancels if it has the same exponent, but if they have different exponent, you have to do top minus bottom. Is that clear? Then over here, we're going to have minus 9. What about this n? Am I going to subtract or is it going to cancel? And what are we left with? Just n. That's it, y'all.